I had difficulty getting onto WIMBA, but I ran through the WIMBA correction or WIMBA test to make sure it was working properly, and everything seems to be working fine just now. That was, I would say, I'll talk about this at the end, but this is definitely one of the things I think is good about WIMBA is that it kind of takes you step by step in regards to how to get WIMBA working on your computer in case your computer is not set up for it. So I do applaud WIMBA for this. My purpose here is to just kind of bring light of some flaws, I think, or some things that could be worked on with WIMBA. Not necessarily, it doesn't need to be they could be revamped, but if you're teaching it or you're giving a tutorial art, you might be able to use this as a stepping stone or to write your own tutorials or give a heads up to future WIMBA users for any program, whether it be Masters or whatever program you're involved with at Stockton. First of all, I think the one thing that I took a note on was the video chat. When you do chat with somebody, obviously you hit the control key and you can speak to somebody. When you're speaking to somebody, usually your image should pop up, and if you have a video camera attached to your computer or as part of your computer, we discovered that kind of by accident. I asked about it and we talked about it, and somehow one of our classmates' faces popped up. I think it was Michael G. His face popped up and it was neat. I was like, hey, there he is. And then ever since that class we haven't been able to see him. Now I don't know if that was something that was enabled by our professor or if it was something that was just a fluke. I'm not quite sure. But that was something I thought would be kind of neat. If you're chatting with people in class and you can't see them, and you want to be seen, and then you want to be nice to have that option, the video chat. I think that should be tweaked a little bit, or at least give a tutorial and say this is how you do it. Another thing I thought was brought up by a classmate, and also I kind of experienced myself, is we have the breakout option, which I think is a wonderful in WIMBA. Enables you to basically have a practice or have a chat. You can go in your groups, practice a presentation, whatever. The only problem I think that I saw with it was that you don't have the same options as you do in the main screen in regards to sharing web. You have the e-board, but you can't really share as much as you would out in the main room. I think that was something that could be perfected. So I think that is one of the second thing I have here. When you share with the class, the screen itself is a little bit difficult to see. For example, if you are sharing something with your class, whether they're at home or in the class, you get this window that pops up. First of all, when you go to share, or if you're giving a tutorial, and this is the way WIMBA works, sometimes this window takes a little bit to pop up. Obviously I would say begin sharing, and then it gives you another window and says what do you want to be shared. I usually go full screen. If you're not very familiar with WIMBA, obviously you're going to freak out because you don't know this window. It's all of a sudden it takes maybe 3 minutes for it to pop up. When you're giving a tutorial, I think maybe that should be mentioned, that needs to pop up. Now once you do end up sharing, sometimes what people have difficulty with is the fact that you can share full screen, and when you're the user and you're sharing, it looks like you're sharing the entire screen, but when you're watching what's being shown, you don't really get the full screen. Even if you maximize your screen of WIMBA, you're not seeing the entire screen. And what will happen is the sidebar on and the bottom bar will pop up, and you kind of have to follow what's going on with the share. And then even then, when you try and follow that person, if you scroll down, it sometimes snap back up at the top of the screen, and that can be kind of a little bit of a bother when you're trying to follow somebody, especially if they're going very fast, or you're trying to stay what they're talking about, something down at the bottom of the screen, and you need to keep snapping down to go look to see what they're doing. So I definitely feel like that is something either that could be fixed by WIMBA or definitely brought to attention of future WIMBA users. Let's see here. Also, I thought that the screen was a little bit choppy when you shared. Sometimes it would choppy. It wasn't very fluid. that once again, it's a give and take. You're sharing information over the internet, and that's the price you have to pay for it to be a little choppy. The fact that you're sharing something and you can speak about it, so you could deal with it. I think that there should be a better option for when you archive something. The wonderful thing that I think that WIMBA does, it's another great tool, is you can archive something. Unless I don't know something, when you archive something, it automatically just gets saved as the date and the time, so it gives a date and a timestamp. I think it would be kind of really cool if WIMBA came up, or the designers came up and said, look, as soon as you hit stop archive, you have to title it what it is. So for example, if I gave a presentation on a wildcard, I would hit stop, record, and when I hit stop, a window would pop up and say, what would you like to title this archive? And it would time and give the timestamp afterwards. So you could say WIMBA wildcard, 12/1/2012, in the time. So that I think would be a really cool option for WIMBA if they did that. I also think that the overall layout is okay. I've gotten used to it. When I first opened up the screen for WIMBA, I was like, what is going on here? I did notice that you can move the bars up and down. I still think that they could do a little bit more adjustment. I think maybe they could utilize this dead space over here, so that you could use more of this screen for your display. So for example, this is all your drawing, put a big bar here and put tools, communication tools, and have this down here. I don't think you need the talk button all the time. He could also be down here, a much larger button instead of being smaller, and maybe some key commands for this stuff. So for or give it shortcuts, give a little cheat sheet. That'd be kind of nice too. But I do, once again, the things that I do like about WIMBA is the ability that you can stay home, and the fact that if you do have trouble, it does a troubleshooting system, and it's like a self-check, and it does help you walk through the system to get things accomplished so you can actually get on the class. I really appreciate that. But overall, I would say, just to kind of review, the video chat I think needs to be either talked about or explained or perfected by WIMBA, the developers of WIMBA. The breakout room should have the same options as the main room. I think that the screen is not consistent when you share, so that it's not the same size. So if you're looking at the entire screen, it's not actually showing in the space provided. You're only seeing a small glimpse of it in your in this screen right here, the share screen. I think that there should be a better archive titling system, so that if you do miss a class, you can go back to the date and it's properly titled. It could be instruction, Web 2.0 title, presentation, WIMBA wildcard, date. And I think the overall layout, it's okay. I've gotten used to it, but I do think it could be tweaked a little bit. I think this is a bunch of wasted space right here. I mean, no one has a name that long, even if it's hyphenated, married 8 times. I don't think it's ever going to be that long. It's a waste of space. You could use it for other things. But hopefully you enjoyed this, and like I said, someone like Art, who's doing tutorials for WIMBA, can use this to his advantage. Maybe he's to help you brainstorm, think of something else. No matter what, WIMBA has been wonderful for this class, and I certainly appreciate the ability to use this. And I've learned a lot from WIMBA, and I'm probably going to use it for other classes. So I'm glad that I was introduced to it, and that was quizzed on it, and made sure that I knew how to understand it, because everything that I've used in this class, I'm one way or another have either already taught in my class, or I'm going to somehow incorporate into bits and pieces of each of my lessons for media in my high school level. So I really appreciate all this technology and how we incorporate it. It just proves to me that what I'm teaching is what's being taught out in college and in master's programs and out in the real world. So because we do have a business person in our class, and that kind of even though they might not have used for all the Web 2.0 tools, something like this could be very useful for chatting with a business correspondent in another state, another country, etc., etc. So, even though I badmouth WIMBA, I definitely consider it a very useful tool. So, thank you very much, and I hope that this was useful.